So I found myself thinking, am I really a gifted healer, inspired recovery star, or is it my neurospicy brain chasing dopamine, the kind that comes from working through a personal issue in a good way? I prefer to think of it as chasing the weightlessness of releasing the burden that I have found myself carrying bit and not picking it back up. Not that piece anyway. Got enough still. It is solstice. It is a time of year where, from here on out, the days get longer, the air gets warm, off and on. It is Calgary, And I was reminiscing on the past few days and what came out of the new moon in Sagittarius that was echoing somehow into the galactic center of the Milky Way, and what came out. And I recognized that the way that I had been approaching it was reminiscent to the great download of February 2018, in which the foundation took form. A great dream, and sketches of the floors and the facilities and all the different resources and all of that good stuff. There we go. I'm going to wake up a bit. So, yeah. And the drawings, the measurements, the calculations, my head is into the practical applications of it to build the structure and then to fill it with people and creativity and life, which I'm pretty cool with. This one's smaller scaled. It's a major step I see. Like, and you're looking at goal planning, and you have the goal, then you have the strategy, and then the milestones. And so the beauty of it is that I'm literally building the boat this time. My thing, my wicked home on wheels and workshop on wheels. 2 units that I'm going to be building, putting into practice everything that I've learned over the last 8 years or so. Because if there's one thing that this wild, intense time has taught me, it's that I have learned a lot and been through a lot. But because of the been through a lot and the learning and that earlier dopamine thing, or the healing, however I was looking at my story, however you look at it, there's a sense of looking at it through the lens of science in the categorization and the rationalization of the neuroscience and how the way that we process information, because that's super helpful, because our bodies and the world that we exist in runs in a lot of this information. And so again, you're tapping into the energy of shared belief. Powerful stuff. The other side of things, you're looking at, again, shared belief in a way of looking at it from a quantum physics perspective. And then the third would be the magical perspective. Fourth could be a spiritual perspective. There are so many different languages used to talk about a similar experience. Process, not to mention indigenous ritual and sacred teachings. Yeah. There are these uniform stories. And also, it didn't hurt that when I was in post-secondary, I did take foundational literature and got to learn about the 4 original storylines, as one professor told us, in a sense that there's only so many variations on the tale. So, understanding what we have shared meaning and shared belief in, and that it offers us a sense of power, a sense of wisdom, a sense of root, and all of these things give us strength, give us stability, and can engage us, activate us in ways that allow us to shift things in the way that how we perceive things and our experience overall, which is how we get to that higher quality of life. Whether you're looking at it from an evolution, an awakening, a spelled effect, researched phenomenon, right? It's a sense of however you connect with the information, brilliant. Okay, you're activated and you're able to take yourself on this unique journey. And whether it's the hero's journey or the heroine's journey or the journeys that we have yet to hear about, right? It allows us to get to further levels of self-awareness or self-compassion in seeing ourselves so that we can be present to our reality, which means we can change it. Because as someone who's gone through varying cycles of recovery from addiction, boy, if we don't look at reality, nothing is going to change. And we are so incredibly pressured through our environment and genetics to not pay attention. It is so comforting to us. It is so comforting because we go through a lot to be pulled from that dream. Yeah, it is wild, man. So anyway, in this, I'm working on, I've done 2, this is my second of solstice ceremonies in order to help process information, put good energy into the future, help program my brain, help me to see the things that I need to see, etc., etc. So one of them is through the Glasgow Witch on Instagram. I should look it up. Hold on a second if I'm referring. I should refer correctly. Yeah, that Glasgow Witch. All right, we'll save that for later. Okay, and then the other one, well, I'll get to that when I do that. Okay, so the Glasgow Witch was talking about 13 days of solstice and writing down statements of fact for the coming year. I took it to mean one way and wrote down my 13, actually I wrote down more so that I could cut down to where I needed to go. Because, you start thinking a little more than you need to, and it helps you to understand what's important and prioritize. So, in the process of that, and you burn one every night, starting tonight. And then on the 13th day, the 2nd of January, I look at that last one because you don't look at them when you burn them. You're committing it and then it's gone, right? Part of sigil magic as well. And so it's this beautiful releasing ceremony, which I think is super helpful. So that helps inspire me for my next few to get into the things that I need to transmute and release. Yeah, so the other one is it was an old screenshot because I was going through some old notes from an Instagram account, Alex_L, ALEX_L. ELLE. And it was an exercise. Actually, she had written sort of like a poem. It was just a written piece that it was like a thing that she was processing, and then I kind of did my own version of it. And it's like, I am complete and still finding parts of myself. I am strong and still deserving of soft kindness and affection. I am learning and still taking risks. Otherwise, how else will I learn? I am evolved and still holding space for other parts to rise up. I am healed and still creating opportunity for hope and wonder. I gotta change that. Awe and wonder. I have mixed feelings about hope. It's good to have dreams, visions, desires, illustrations, rather than the fantasies and stories that we tell ourselves that have no grounding in reality. There's plenty of things that don't exist in this plane and dimension that are beneficial and giving to us. I find that hope is tied to regret often and too often, and so it's looking back in a way and holding on to things that are not going to change. And hanging on to them is a disservice to the incredible garden that I have planted and nurtured and grown over the past years. So anyway, thought that was also worth sharing. And then otherwise, yeah, just plugging away on personal projects. It's been a little wild. So I've done a different type of vlogging, if you will. I will do a card reading when I'm able to, again. But at the moment, I need to kind of focus all of my energy on the major task that I need to be doing, along with a little bit of the self-care and eating good food and taking myself on the treadmill, all that good thing, and then dealing with the emotional processing and showing up and being present to a lot of that. There you go. So here it is, 12/21/2025 at 12:34 p.m. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've made it this far, my friends. Nothing to do but keep going. And I think that's one of the waves that we go through, which is there's these ups and downs of acceptance and then resistance and then acceptance and resistance, and was recently reminded that it is one of those constants in nature, those perfect systems, that it's necessary to have those cycles of death and rebirth in order for us to thrive. So good times in that way. So this is my solstice message, and I hope it brings you some peace, some positivity, something to ground your experience in so that you're able to move forward in a good way. All right, take care. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.